Why are most people still broke when they hit 30 years old? Well, after studying thousands of cases, I can tell you it's not bad luck, it's bad planning. Because the small minority of people thriving at 30 all share a secret: 8 simple but crucial actions that separate those who get rich from those who struggle forever. The first thing you need to do is become debt-free, because debt isn't just a financial burden, it's a financial black hole. It pulls in your money, your freedom, and your future, and the longer you ignore it, the harder it is to escape. But if you can hit 30 without carrying any high-interest debt, you're already ahead of the game. Because debt doesn't just eat your paycheck, it eats your choices. Think about it. If you have a ton of debt, you'll never be able to quit your job or take a year off to travel. You lose the flexibility to make big moves, and that's where it starts to cost you. But there are 2 proven strategies that can help you change that. The first is known as the debt snowball method, where you focus on paying off your smallest debt first and then gradually move up and pay off larger and larger debts. For example, first you pay off that $100 credit card balance, then a different card where you owe $500, and before you know it, you're tackling your $20,000 in student loans. But the second method is the avalanche method, where you attack the highest interest rates first, which saves you the most money over time. For example, you might pay off your credit cards with the highest interest rates first and only pay off your lower interest rate car loan once your credit cards have been fully paid. But the key to all this is urgency, because the longer you carry debt, the more you lose to interest, and it's not just a little, that's thousands of dollars that disappear year after year. But becoming debt-free is only half the equation, because even with a clean slate, you're still being evaluated. And if you don't pass the test, the opportunities you're looking forward to, like buying a house, are going to stay closed to you. That's why the next move matters just as much, because without it, the progress you've made won't take you anywhere. And that all comes down to one thing: your credit score. It's the number that determines the rates you get, the approvals you land, and in some cases, even the jobs you're considered for. And a weak score means higher costs and more rejections. So building a strong credit score should always be a priority. Fortunately, achieving an excellent score is not that complicated, and it just comes down to consistency. And there are 3 rules you need to follow without fail. First is you need to pay on time every time, because a single late payment on a credit card can drop your score by more than 100 points, and once that damage is done, it can take years to recover. That's why automatic payments aren't just helpful, they're essential. Set them up once and you remove the risk of ever falling behind. Second is to keep your credit utilization low. That means using less than 30% of your total credit limit, and ideally under 10%. Because if lenders see you constantly using most of the credit available to you, it signals to them that you're relying on credit to get by. And even if you're paying it off in full every month, a high balance can still pull down your score. And finally, be selective about when you apply for new credit, because every credit application triggers a hard inquiry, and too many of those in a short window makes you look like a risk, even if your finances are solid. Now, getting your credit score above 750 by the age of 30 isn't just about hitting a number, it's about opening doors. You'll qualify for better mortgage rates, get approved for rentals faster, and avoid paying more for the same opportunities that other people are getting for less. But even with a perfect score, it only takes one unexpected expense to knock everything off track, and if you don't have a buffer in place, you'll end up right back where you started. So whether it's a sudden car repair or a medical emergency, when that happens, it doesn't matter how disciplined you've been with your credit or how carefully you've managed your spending, because if you don't have cash ready to go, you'll be forced to rely on credit or start pulling from the same accounts you've worked so hard to build. That's why having an emergency fund set aside isn't just a cushion, it's a shield. And protecting your financial foundation starts with making sure that emergency fund is in place before anything goes wrong. And the goal here is simple: set aside 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in a high yield savings account so it's safe and ready when you need it. So if your monthly spending is around $3,000, that means saving between $9,000 and $18,000. And if your income isn't consistent, it's smarter to aim for a full year's worth of income, because when your income is unpredictable, your savings can't afford to be. And if that number feels too far off, start with what's manageable. Even $500 to $1,000 gives you a buffer, and once you automate the process with a recurring transfer each payday, your momentum quietly builds in the background. But while having an emergency fund protects you from falling behind, it's not what pushes you forward, because saving is how you stay safe, but growing your money is how you actually build wealth. And the sooner you start, the more powerful that growth becomes, because once your emergency fund is in place, your next move isn't to keep piling up cash, it's to put that money to work, since safety alone won't create freedom. And if you want real financial security, you need to start investing early and let time do the heavy lifting. That's why compound interest is so powerful, and even small contributions made consistently can grow into something substantial over time. For example, if you put $300 a month into the market starting at age 22, you could end up with more than $1 million by the time you retire. But if you don't start investing until you're 30, that number drops to around $600,000. And it's not because you invested significantly less, it's because you gave your money less time to grow. So the best place to start here is with a tax advantage account. If your employer offers a 401k match, then take it, it's free money. And if you have access to a Roth IRA, use that as well. The money grows tax-free and you won't owe anything when you take it out later on in life. And these accounts don't just help you invest, they help you keep more of what you earn. And if you haven't started yet, that's okay, but it is important that you start now, even if you're only investing $50 or $100 a month. Of course, there will always be reasons to put it off, like student loans, saving for a house, or unexpected expenses, but the longer you wait, the harder it will be to catch up. Because remember, investing is not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. And the best time to start is right now. But as your income starts to rise, that consistency becomes harder to maintain, because the real challenge isn't just earning more, it's holding on to it. And if you're not careful, your growing income can slip right through your fingers before you even notice. Let me explain how. When you finally get that raise you've been waiting for, it feels like your hard work is starting to pay off. But then your apartment gets bigger and your car payment goes up, and somehow your bank account still looks exactly the same. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's the sneaky habit of spending more just because you're earning more, and it's how people making six figures still live paycheck to paycheck. As their income rises, their spending rises right alongside it, until every dollar is accounted for and none of it goes toward building a better future. But the way to avoid this isn't to stop spending altogether, it's to be intentional. Before you upgrade anything, ask yourself whether it's actually improving your life or whether it just feels like progress because it costs more. The wealthiest, most financially stable people out there don't avoid nice things, they just don't confuse lifestyle with freedom. And that's why the most effective strategy is simple: save first and spend later. Set up automatic transfers that move 15 to 20% of your income into investments before you ever see it hit your account. That way, saving becomes automatic and you never have to rely on discipline to build wealth. It just happens in the background while you live your life. Because at the end of the day, just because you can afford something doesn't mean you should buy it. But even if you get this right, if you keep your lifestyle in check and your savings rate high, there's still one major gap left to fill. Because no matter how well you save, you'll never reach real financial freedom if every dollar you earn still depends on a single paycheck. Because relying on one income is like building your entire financial future on a single point of failure. And the moment that paycheck disappears, so does your stability. That's why the people who build real wealth don't just protect what they earn, they multiply how many places it comes from. So whether you're earning extra income from a side hustle, freelance work, a rental property, or anything else, anything that brings in money outside of your main job makes you that much more secure. And the goal is not to work more hours, but to build income streams that pay you when you're not working at all. And here's the best part, you don't even need to reinvent yourself to do this. You can just start with what you already know. For example, if you're good at writing, design, or coding, then there's plenty of freelance work out there waiting for you. Or if you love teaching, you can turn that into a course, a coaching offer, or a YouTube channel. Even a few $100s a month can shift your financial future, especially if you reinvest it. What matters is that you stop relying on one income stream to do all the heavy lifting, because once the money starts coming in from more than one direction, everything gets easier to scale. And when that happens, the question shifts from how much you're making to what you're doing with it. Because the most reliable way to grow your income isn't just to add more streams, it's to increase your value in the market. You are your most valuable asset. So if you stop growing, your income stops growing with you, because your skills, knowledge, and experience are what create leverage. The more valuable you become, the more opportunities come your way, and the less effort it takes to turn those opportunities into results. And that can look like a few different things, whether it's learning high-value skills, getting better at what you already do, or just surrounding yourself with people who push you to level up. And that includes your health, because if your body starts breaking down, your goals don't matter. The way you eat, train, and recover directly affects your energy, your focus, and your ability to stay disciplined over time. So don't let that slip and take your health seriously. But once you've done all the work to grow, protect, and multiply everything you've built, this last step isn't about gaining more, it's about making sure none of it gets lost. This is where a basic estate plan comes in, not just as a formality, but as a way to protect everything you've built and to make sure your money, your intentions, and the people you care about aren't left vulnerable when you're no longer in control. So at the most basic stage, that means having a will that will direct where your assets go, a healthcare directive that outlines how medical decisions should be made if you can't speak for yourself, and a power of attorney that gives someone you trust the authority to act on your behalf when you can't. Most people put off creating an estate plan because they assume it's something to do when they're older, but the earlier you put it in place, the more peace of mind you're going to have, because once your estate plan is handled, you free up the mental space to focus on everything else, knowing that your foundation is completely protected. But at this point, you've put in the work to build some smart financial habits, but here's the catch. You're probably still leaving free money on the table, because even if you're diligent about making all the right choices, tiny mistakes like choosing the wrong credit card could mean missing out on thousands of dollars in savings and benefits, which can take years to make up. The good news is, if you choose the right credit card, you'll be earning way more than your peers without spending an extra dollar. So to learn which credit card will deliver the maximum amount of points and benefits for your lifestyle, watch this video next.